I'll share a different perspective. Okay. I don't know how many of us have dealt with a blue collared environment. Okay. When you're a well read IT environment, you say, I will not give a prescribed this direction. It's more of a alignment, and as long as I am kind of breaking the milestone and very rightly put saying that into a smaller achievement and do it. I come from a company where even in my past life it was more of a manufacturing environment. You go and tell them something about a direction, you tell them about empowerment, you tell them about this is the milestone. I think it's a 9 to 5 shift job. Okay, so there is also a world, and trust me, if you go towards Chakan or the outside factories, I think this will be all English. It will not even enter the gate.
Yeah.
So and especially so the point that I'm trying to say is, I think it depends on the kind of industry. Some of them are really, really high precision industry, right? Especially in manufacturing, you will see that if that thing has to be aligned in a particular format, it has to be done. Otherwise, the entire batch goes out, right? You can't give a DOA to the shop floor guy saying that, okay, today is Palki, so 2 hour shift cut. It's going to affect a batch out somewhere. That's one example. The second example, I've also worked in a telecom environment where one of the largest telecom today, and they have the biggest war chest. I can't put the name on the table. Everybody knows it. There is no word called as alignment. Okay. The truth and the reality is, are they successful? Yes. Do they have a customer market share? Yes. Do they have a revenue market share? Yes. And there's no alignment discussion. They're very clear, and I'm sure some of our friends come from an army background. There they say that if this is a task, you do the task. Don't get innovation, don't get creativity. You need to dig the hole here. You need to do this here, and tomorrow you dig another hole here and move the shift from here, lift and shift here. You have no DOA to even ask, saying that, hey, you know what, why did you make me do it here? I could have done a better innovative solution. But cut to when you manage large workforce, at that time, what's important is the alignment of thought within the owner itself, saying that, how do I go and achieve it? Maybe in a well-read telecom or, any such environment where you have people who understand and appreciate, I think there it really works well. So, it's a very mixed thought about, it's very good to hear saying that, frictions are good, but in a shop floor, you cannot have a friction. You need to kind of be precise, saying that this is what you come, you need to wear your apron, because if you're getting into a nuclear environment, you need to wear your safety. So there is nothing. It increases your weight, fair enough. It increases your weight, you need to go into the exposure unit and do that task and just come back. So I think, so it's all about which industry, what kind of department. I think when it is sales, marketing, or any of the customer facing thing, I think all this really works. But when you see on the back end, it's like, imagine there's a rock show happening. The star has to come, the mic has to work, the sound has to go. It cannot be a scenario where there is misalignment in terms of saying that, okay, something changes. So I think it's a matter of how and where it is getting applied. And I think
so industry is critically important, Venkatesh, what I hear you say. But when we talk of alignment, what I'm also deciphering is we're talking of alignment at multiple levels. We're talking of alignment at a purpose level, at a shared values level, at a process level, which is what your narrative really highlighted. And I come from the army and I know सिखलाए हुए तरीके का क्या मतलब है, it's like SOP, what does it really mean?
Exactly.
But does it mean at a purpose level or shared values level we are not aligned? Of course we are, we are hardwired to do that. Does that mean we are not allowed to innovate as the speed increases? The answer is yes, but context, I think, will then become more
important. The direction everybody knows. Like today, if my colleagues are there from, say, Tata Motors, so everybody knows they are into a business of creating, say, a particular vehicle. So even the shop floor guy will know. The directions are there, but it's all about how you set that tone which is relevant to them. I think that's the message. It's all about who your audience is, whether they really understand it, and at times prescription really works, saying that.
So can I just add a point to the one that you're saying? Maybe, I'm adding my perspective to that. So like what you said is absolutely correct. There are certain places where you need precision. You can't go haywire. You have to do it. But I feel even in those organizations, there are levels where there could be some disagreements or misalignments. It might not be like, when it comes to process and when it's coming, top down with different layers, there probably it's non-negotiable. So there you have to follow the SOP and the process. But I'm just making, maybe it's with the leadership or, you have an R&D department everywhere, right? There could be certain variations, innovations that happen, and that maybe comes from the friction somewhere at the leadership level, or someone is, talking about it. So, that's my thought, that maybe certain levels it's non-negotiable, like he said. But there are certain layers where there might still be some friction. Not friction might not be the right word, but maybe a constructive disagreement. But you agree that okay, we go this way. Maybe you try and see if this is an innovative way we can change things. Otherwise, I believe things will never change. We will keep following the same pattern.
So I want to just add my perspective here. I mean, I think it's a accumulation of what everyone said, starting with how important speed is, maturity of the organization, size of the organization, and industry. For example, can't imagine aircraft maintenance. Not the best time to give that example, but I've been an entrepreneur all my life, and starting from a two-man company to finally a 1,700 organization, and I've seen it all along. So again, I understand how important it is to be like innovative, and I'll give people a clear. I think it's very important everybody has a clear objective, and then allow them to make mistakes. In fact, I have always, as an entrepreneur, believed that you make 10 mistakes, and you do 10 initiatives, 8 of them will go wrong, 2 of them will actually take you to the next level. So it's perfectly okay for people to be misaligned, so long as they are working in the best interest of the organization, so long as there is a clear direction and an objective given. Again, an example that I'll give you from there, for at one point of time, we all had this big workshop and we arrived at this conclusion that customer experience is the core strategy for our organization. Now, customer experience means different for different departments. And each department needs to go and find out for itself what it needs to do to deliver the best customer experience, be it a product organization or a customer success organization, sales, marketing, right? So I think somewhere, as the organization matures, again, one more thing that I've always believed in is that initially at a smaller size, it's intuitive in terms of the decisions you take. As you get bigger, it becomes more data driven and process driven, because like somebody mentioned, there are a lot more people's careers at stake. There's a lot more money at stake, a lot more stakeholders that can be, if you make a mistake, you could probably go in the wrong direction, and it might take a lot of effort to come back. From a startup standpoint, or from a small organization standpoint, I think it's perfectly okay to allow people to think in their own direction, which you might call fiction, which might not align with some other people. But I have always believed that it's great to let people make their mistakes.
And in that sense, look at misalignment as a virtue to have, right?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Ma'am, you have a...
So yes, I usually begin the thing with the line that context is always the king. Okay. So when I speak of context, for instance, in the case of structure, okay, again the context comes into the picture. Manufacturing cannot have too much of autonomy, and where innovation is kind of put on a higher pedestal, like ID sector, there again the structure is again a very different scenario altogether. And when you're talking about innovation and alignment with an innovation, the rate and pace of innovation for each industry is different. Just like for manufacturing in industry or a sector, it could be few years to make a change. Okay, and it wouldn't matter. The companies wouldn't become extinct, but that amount of time is unthinkable for an IT or innovation sector. So when we're talking about alignment, my question again redirects to the basic point, as in Where are we talking about alignment? Are we talking about at structure level, at strategy level when the times are changing? Is it between an alignment between structure and strategy? And what is non-negotiable is values. If an organization is surely bound to fail if the values don't have practices which walk the talk. Okay, so that's even not the first place to begin with. I mean, if you are portraying something and if you're on your website you have something else and you don't do it, then that's an altogether a different discussion. But now if I would want to redirect and next questions could flow forward would be, are we talking about alignment between strategy, structure and speed? Because this is an interesting way to look forward. And innovation sometimes as a moderating variable is, I leave it up for the floor.
I have a counterpoint just before we get into the next. There are companies that didn't innovate on time and they've perished. So are we saying that they were hyper aligned and that's why no innovation came about? I don't want to take names of those companies, but we all know.
I personally have been involved with making Kodak out of business, Sony getting into a smaller space. Everybody had Walkman, whose kids have not even seen Walkman, correct? So I think ma'am put a very beautiful point on, are we talking about strategy? I'll tell you, I was CDO for British Petroleum in Pune. And on your point on safety was taken so seriously that it was one of the protocol that even if someone is seen with a phone or a coffee in hand and going down the stairs, I had cases coming up as a, supervisor with an escalation that, hey, this person was not careful. And I have to take actions against that person. Think we are running a digital center here in Pune. It has absolutely nothing to do with the oil wells and drilling, etc. going around. But because the SOPs were clearly mentioned, even on the IT, we have to give, tough warnings and there were certain terminations. And the IT environment, have a coffee in hand or a cell phone. There's like, for us leaders, like it was like, kya kar rahe ho yaar? This is a easy, safe place. But, to your point, it was a 50-50. We couldn't remove all, but we have to take certain.
Sure, a trade-off surely makes sense.
Yeah.
A trade-off surely makes sense. Yeah. So I'll tell you what, I used to work for Vodafone, which is again a UK company. So we have this health, safety, welfare program. Yeah. So there's a level 1, level 2, level 3. If you're caught without wearing a seat belt, you're terminated. There's no questions asked.